264 games down. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 3 games left in this NFL season. So we're here to bring you another Occupy Fantasy podcast. I'm Brian Jester, your usual co-host. Our other co-host, Waleed, is out today. I got some other business to take care of, so we figured we'd bring in 2 special guests. Moose, you've seen him on the Twitch streams recently. Moose in the Twitch streets. What's up, dude?
Yo, what's going on, Brian? How you been?
I'm good. Everything's good. And of course, with Super Bowl approaching, a lot of things happening in the sports betting world as of late. Had to bring in our resident betting correspondent, Mike Carey, MC in the DMV. What's up, Mike?
Hey, Brian. How's it going?
Everything is going great. Guys, we got a lot to talk about. So, first of all, if you're new to this podcast, welcome. This will be a primarily sports betting episode. I know most of our audience is DFS and fantasy based, but I think we have some interesting conversations to have ahead of these conference championship games this weekend. And I think it all starts first and foremost with this DraftKings. So we're colliding the two worlds, DFS and sports betting. DraftKings, FanDuel, we know they're getting into the sports betting business. And this past weekend, DraftKings had a very interesting tournament, the Sports Betting National Championship or something, some abbreviation along those lines, where you could qualify with a DFS tournament, or you could directly buy in for a very meager price of $10,000, which many people chose to do because there was massive overlay. They expected close to 500 people. The prize pool was based on 500 people. Ended up only filling to about 250, 230 people, I think. So, Moose, this was a pretty big tournament that DraftKings, first of all, and we'll get to in a second, they dropped the ball a few times, but given the magnitude of this contest and the way it played out, I think it's an interesting way to look at sports betting in the future, because I haven't seen, we all know about the Super Contest. Moose, explain the Super Contest and how it differed from what DraftKings put out this past weekend.
Absolutely, yeah. So the Super Contest is ran by the Westgate, used to be the Superbook, probably the best and sharpest sports book out in Vegas, if not the world. And it's like $1,000, something like that. You go in, buy in, and you pick 5 games against the spread, NFL games. Whatever the opening line is, you lock it in right there. You have to get it in by the first game on Sunday or Thursday. I'm not sure about that one. But compare that to, and that's over the 17 weeks. So a lot of people can't be in Vegas for 17 weeks. They'll use proxies or something like that. But this DK Sports Betting Championship, they gave you $5,000 cash and said you got to bet $2,000 of it on anything. Props, you can parlay the props, alternate spreads, straight ups. As long as you bet $2,000, you would be in qualification to win. Whoever had the most money at the end won $1 million.
Yeah, so a bit different than the Super Contest. So MC, where Super Contest is really a game of skill. Over 17 weeks, you're making 5 bets each week. This DK competition was more, well, it was a lot of luck involved, but it was more game theory and less handicapping, I would say, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Super Contest, you're going to get exposed if you don't know what you're doing over 17 weeks. Even if you're only picking 5 games. Picking 5 winners every week is impossible, so you're going to have ups and downs. And if you're just hyper-focusing your sports betting championship into one weekend, with a given amount of money that you have to bet, it encourages you to bet a lot of plus odds to separate yourself from the pack, either through, underdogs straight up or alternate lines or parlays. So it's definitely a different contest, and I agree with the overlay comment too. In the Superbook, all the buy-in money is used for the prize money. So DraftKings decided this was going to be $1 million, and I guess they didn't get anywhere close to that in the buy-in. So it ended up being just a big marketing idea, I guess, for DraftKings going forward. Probably, I mean, they're raking it in their online sportsbooks already, so just kind of separates them maybe from the FanDuel's, Will Hills of the world going forward.
Yeah, I mean, so this was certainly a marketing play up front, right? Let's try to establish this big tournament and have an annual tournament, and then 2, let's promote our our sportsbook product, right? And I think it did a lot of exposure for that, because whether it's for the right or the wrong reasons, which we'll talk about here in a second, this story got picked up and this championship got picked up. And but in addition to the overlay, because people were actually betting real money, they're taking on risk and reward with each bet. But because people are making so many crazy bets, right? I think they still ended up clearing like $350,000 in profit just from the bets alone. So even if there was overlay, they did recoup some of that money through the actual bets that the contestants did make. So that was interesting. And you mentioned the super contest and getting exposed. Real quick, MC, are we going to get exposed next year? Are we planning on doing this?
Yeah, I think this year is, next year, fall 2019 is going to be the year that we finally take the jump into the super contest. It's only a $1,500 buy-in. $500 between the three of us spread out over 17 weeks. I'm in for $30 a week. So I think this year, I mean, it's not bad when you look at it like that. So I think this is the year. I'm not sure how the proxy service is going to work, but I'm also willing to be in Vegas for 17 straight weeks. I'll be single, but by the playoffs, the wild card round, I will be single. But
she'll be back once we hit the $1 million top prize. She'll be back.
Yeah, no, she'll definitely be back after that.
So, okay, so yeah, $30 a week. That's actually a pretty good way to look at it, because we damn sure spend more than $30 a week betting nowadays.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if you can maybe calm it down on the betting and just kind of look at the Superbook and kind of hyper focus on 5 games a week, $30 isn't bad.
Yeah, we can certainly make that work. So,
yeah.
All right, let's get back to this DK championship. Moose, we've alluded to it twice right now, this controversy at the end of the tournament. So if you've been on Twitter at all, or if you've read ESPN, in fact, because ESPN even picked up the article, the guy who was in first place after the Chargers-Patriots game on Sunday, he risked his entire bankroll on the Patriots -4 or -3.5, whatever it was. That won. He was planning to use that money to extend his lead in the final game of the day, the Eagles and the Saints. Moose, what happened, and why was this such an issue?
Yeah, so from my understanding, he wanted to take what he had left over, put it on the Saints money line, which would have won. However, his bet wasn't graded in time. What that means is the book didn't put in, yes, these wagers win, or no, these wagers lose. So his bet was still pending by the time the game started, which I guess isn't a complete shit show. But from what I heard and what he said, there's people who would manually go to the book, ask for the supervisor, the help desk, and they got their bet manually graded there at the book and were able to use their money to bet on the game.
Not good. That opens up a whole can of worms. I know he's already said he has legal help on it, but I mean, MC, Moose, both of you guys, we've made tons of bets at different types of books, right? I know there was like 10 or 15 minutes in between those games. Don't sides and totals get graded nearly immediately?
For the most part,
yeah, I would say they are. I mean, and what, for a PR perspective here, the one thing that the public would understand about this championship, it's not going to be like, plus 250 lines or parlays not paying out. It's going to be, this guy made a bet, won, and then didn't get paid out in time to make another bet. I mean, that's going to be something that everybody is going to understand.
So many people can relate to that.
And they totally botched it. This is the one thing that they absolutely had to do, and they completely screwed it up. Was grade the bet on time.
Yeah, I can understand if it was like a prop or something like that, because props don't normally get graded for a couple hours. Like,
right.
He literally did the simplest bet that you can do. And then that's also bullshit on the sportsbook part, is either grade them all or grade them none. Like, just stick by your word. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't give people the opportunity that were behind him, especially in the tournament setting, behind him.
Yeah.
To make up that ground, and that's what happened. So we'll continue to follow this as the story progresses. But if this sports betting championship wants to continue to be a thing, DraftKings will have to fix this error, and we'll see how they go about it moving forward. But you got both, we were all talking before the podcast started about maybe they choose a different weekend next year, or extend the rules a bit so where MC they don't have this such small lag time in between the final game of the day for people to make bets.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a dedicated clerk or a group of clerks would have solved this problem anyways. A time difference, yeah, a different weekend. Extending it past an NFL weekend where maybe you're closing it at 8:35 on a Monday.
Right.
After the kickoff of Monday Night Football. If they were looking for drama, I mean, everyone's going to have action on Monday Night Football. If it's going to come down to some crazy money line and total parlay hitting, I mean, I don't know. Are they? I don't know if they're expecting long-term people to be tuning in to this on television or just following along on Twitter. But it just right now seems like this win is in some way illegitimate, and going forward they've got to shore it up so that any possible bet that could be made under the time limit could get cashed.
Yeah, they got to do something to fix it, and having an island game like Monday night would be pretty cool to do. So, and I actually heard some rumblings that they DraftKings maybe wants to turn this into a World Series of Poker type event where it does eventually get televised. And if that's the case, that would be interesting, and it would be huge for sports betting if it was televised like that.
Yeah.
So, anyways, all right. So let's play hypothetical here. Let's say we win the Super Contest next year. Maybe that's far fetched. Maybe we can
like 25% chance of that happening at least.
At least 25% chance. So 25% chance. At least this hypothetical turns into reality, and we enter next year's DraftKings Sports Betting Championship. Assuming the same rules, Moose, you get $5,000 to start on a Friday. Your goal is to have, assuming you're playing to win, your goal is to get first place, have the highest bankroll by Sunday afternoon, and which may go overlooked if people didn't read the rules or if you're just following this casually. Whatever your bankroll was at the end, you also got to keep that too. So if you finished with like $40,000 in your bankroll, you also kept that $40K cash plus whatever you won in the tournament. So, so Moose, if you had an entry next year, what would your strategy be for the weekend trying to get that top prize? What kind of bets would you make? What kind of game theory would you be playing going into next year?
So first of all, there's shout out to Coursera. They actually have a game theory class. I would absolutely pay the like $39. Take that. Figure out what's going on first. But no, I think
educate yourself. That's a good start.
Yes, absolutely. No, what I think you have to do is I think you have to play pretty conservative for the first day. See how everyone's doing it, because there may be half the field do something stupid like a 5-leg parlay and they're broke the first day. Or you can see if people are playing just straight ups. So I think you play straight ups, maybe do some props. If you can parlay props, do over and overs, receiving yards and catches or something like that. Do some really highly correlated plays. If they do it during college football, I know there's sometimes you can do spreads, high spreads and low over unders. So I think you just go high correlated plays, high expected value plays for that first day. And then if you see if people are hitting 4 or 5 team parlays, then I think you have to go that route on second and third day.
Yeah, I mean, MC, if you're in this, you have to be agile and changing your strategy because the leaderboard is live and you can download every bet and you can see every bet. So not only are you trying to make the best plays, you're also trying to keep an eye on what everyone else is doing. So it's a pretty action-packed weekend, especially you consider that on Saturday of this past tournament there was EPL, golf, football. I mean, there was everything that was possibly playing was on. And you could bet on all of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing you would want to remember is that just because you're in a sports betting championship, that you should throw out all the rules that you kind of hold dear. Like for me, I would let everybody go ahead and bet to their heart's content on the NBA on Friday night. The NBA owns Friday night. There's very little NHL, very, very little college basketball. But that's exactly where I would go to on a Friday night. And Brian, you and I have hit Ivy League Friday night college basketball a lot. So, in the Ivy League, you might have a situation where they play back-to-back nights because they like school and don't want to travel all that much. And, they don't have a lot of one and dones, and they have just guys, run ragged on second night of a back-to-back. So there's a lot of angles that you can take. And historical trends usually hold up pretty well in the Ivy League. That sounds degenerate as hell, and it is. You're
that's what's going to win you a sports
you're betting on academic scholarship athletes, and
that was in quotes. If you're not watching this on YouTube, if you're just listening to the audio, he put athletes in quotes. So
I mean, I would be lying if I said I hadn't bet on Ivy League in March Madness the last 2 years. So, but that's where I would start. Again, Saturday, if it was a similar weekend like this, I do like the golf head-to-head matchups because if you're betting head-to-head matchups on Saturday, you've already got 2 days, of kind of data, seeing how they're, getting used to the course, that sort of thing. So you can see who's ready. It was the Sony Open, which is the first major PGA event of the year. So some people are going to come out, hungover, and some people are going to actually come out wanting to win. I mean, it's in Hawaii. I mean, let's be honest here.
Not many people are focused in that tournament.
Yeah, exactly, and they shouldn't be. Soccer, I wouldn't. I would stay away from sides. I would do totals.
The guy who was leading like midway through Saturday or late Saturday night, he doubled his bankroll 3 times. He bet $5K at first, doubled it, then bet whatever money he got again, and then doubled it again. And I think his final bet that he doubled on was like a both teams to score prop in the EPL. It was like plus 155 or something. And he was up to 40K in 3 bets.
That's a solid strategy because if you have all of the EPL props, I mean, they have some weird stuff in those games. If you don't watch a lot of English Premier League, you'd kind of be surprised at some of the props. You can literally bet on anything. Number of corner kicks, all that kind of stuff. It's like the Super Bowl, but every game.
Right. Yeah. Because the Europe freaking loves to bet on anything.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you go anywhere around the corner in the UK and there's a betting shop. So.
Yeah, and the way that they take bets is then here, and you can literally bet on everything.
Right. I think EPL. Yeah. I actually think it's a pretty big edge if you follow it whatsoever. If you have Moose's model, like there's definitely a way to. I think that's probably one of the biggest edges where everyone's betting college basketball and even golf or even some of the NBA games. You probably have that edge especially if you're betting props and the limits like 15K on props in this competition. So
I would love to know who people who bet on the NBA how they finished because or NHL. I mean, it's completely random. I mean,
that would be a good analysis to do.
There's just no edge.
Right. Yeah. To see what people bet on because I don't think anyone who finished in the top was betting NBA. So, I mean, I actually saw a lot of people do alternate spreads, which I didn't think about going into it. I thought parlays would be the way to go, but alternate spreads actually makes a ton of sense because then you're just counting on one thing to happen.
Yeah. It's like a single parlay almost.
Right. Yeah. I think the one guy,
I
think a lot of the people had like Patriots minus 16 or they had something along those lines. And that was a huge hit going into that last game. So, here's the thing. This was the inaugural event. So no one had any data on what the optimal strategy was. So a lot of people were shooting in the dark here. But actually, I think as more states legalize this, I think we might see more betting competitions similar to this in other states, other times of the year. So I think it's a natural transition. And, if you're not in the DC area, this doesn't impact you directly. But I think it's still an interesting conversation to have because as the news fills and it spreads that more and more states are legalizing sports betting, I think a lot of people have this misconception that, it's legalized. They're going to be betting soon. It's a very simple matter of the fact. But talking to you two, MC, since you're in there in DC, going to a lot of these hearings, Moose, you're basically a qualified paralegal at this point when it comes to looking at various laws. I'm gonna give the floor. I'm gonna give the floor to you guys for a second. It's legalized in DC now. So MC, I'll start with you. You guys have this conversation. MC, so it's legalized in DC, but this is not the end of the story.
So it was voted on and legalized in DC in December. And just like any other law that DC passes, similar to marijuana legalization, it has to be okayed by Congress. And Congress has, under the Home Rule Act, and Congress has 60 days to respond whether or not they're going to allow DC to basically fund the implementation of this law. So Congress has about until February 16th, I think it is, to comment on this law. They're not doing very much right now, so I think it's looking good for DC being allowed to bet on sports. But DC has also come under scrutiny because they are allowing the DC lottery to have a monopoly on the sports betting app. And they were initially not going to put it out for bidding. So such like FanDuel or Will Hill or MGM could get the contract to run the app. They were their current contract with their like Keno machine and horse racing machine operators or operator to run the app. That got into scrutiny almost immediately, and now they're having a hearing to determine having a hearing about opening up. They're going to talking about opening up the bidding, which is the most government city council thing. I mean, if you watch Parks and DC city councils, oftentimes run exactly like that.
Yeah.
So we're sort of in a holding pattern, which makes it seem like the app in DC is probably not going to make it out until maybe later in the year, hopefully before football. The DC lottery scared is bidding away. If the DC lottery opened it up for bidding, that it would take 3 years to find the operator and implement the app, which is a lie.
Good Lord.
You know? They could have it up tomorrow if they want.
It's a lie. Yeah. Yeah, they absolutely could. They could just call FanDuel or Will Hill and say, could you, get an app and just deposit into our account, because that's basically what it is.
Mm-hmm.
They could do that tomorrow.
Yeah, and not even that, and just other scrutiny is, they passed the law, but I'm actually on the DC Council's website here. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 additional bills to attempt to change the language. So one of the ones that brought up a lot of controversy is that this one that would increase the fees for the licensors. So they originally passed it. They said, we want small business, minority-owned, women-owned businesses to be able to get in on this, but now they're raising the fees to Class A license to $500,000 of upfront fee for a year, or $100,000 for Class B license, and Class A is going to be like for the huge sports books at Capital One Arena or Audi Field, stuff like that. And Class B are like at the different like bars and shops and locations like that. Which I don't know what small business or poor person, I don't want to say poor person, like not rich person has $100,000 up front. But like that's just going to make William Hill come in and just say, okay, here's $100,000. You're going to owe me back $100,000. I'll have an app, and they're going to have 37 William Hill apps.
Right. I mean, so what you're saying is we have to win the super contest if we're going to open our own sportsbook in DC next year.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, but you could open it up in your own home. It sounds like. I mean, really, there's not too many limitations on the type of business. You could just have like a lemonade stand out front of your house, and then you could have a sports book in the back.
Yeah, just have like a lemonade stand, like SpongeBob had or something like that, and then just have like 30 TVs, a giant ass thing. You just charge 25 cents admission, you get a cup of lemonade. Bet all the sports you want.
Yeah.
That's a much better idea than having it in my basement or in my home. The last thing I want in my home is degenerates betting sports. So
you have that every day.
I don't need other people doing it. Like, single-handedly me is enough for sure.
you're full with family and friends already.
Yeah, family and friends. We don't need strangers in here betting money on games. So, all right. So, I mean, clearly it's a shit show in DC. Hopefully they get things up and running. Ideally, I mean, I don't know if anyone's seen the article where there might be a separate sports channel dedicated to sports betting. I think it's Masson or something along those lines. I know Leonsis has the idea of having betting portals right in the seats at the stadium. So I think the future is bright for sports betting, and the amount of ways you'll be able to bet and the information you get is only going to grow. So it's exciting. It's just going to be some bumps in the road along the way until we get it legalized. But I think a good transition here is let's talk about a place that I think they have sports betting under control, and they've got it pretty much figured out, and that's Las Vegas. And all three of us will be there here in a couple of weeks for the Super Bowl. MC, what's the plans? We're going to be out in Vegas. We've been doing this for a while. I took a brief break, and you and your family's been out there for a while. But what we got going on in the next couple of weeks here?
Yeah, so this is 2011, I think. Giants Patriots first go round.
Yep.
Obviously the Giants big upset there. We've been doing the Super Bowl party at the Luxor, and I think we're going to be doing that again. But you guys get out there Thursday night, it sounds like, and I mean, we're going to be betting on those Ivy League teams on Friday before the NBA. Basically only betting on teams that you can follow along on an app. If it's televised,
if it's on TV, we are not betting it. That's a guarantee.
We're absolutely not touching it. Yeah, the only thing that I'll be betting on that will be on TV will be the Capitals. That's about it. But then going up to the Superbook for somewhere between 30 and 50 props, I'm guessing.
Sounds about right. I think that's pretty close. Yeah, I mean, we make this trek out there just mostly to do props because Superbook has the best odds. Who doesn't like getting cash immediately after winning the bet? And we have all the sports books to go to. It's like we normally stay right on the strip there, so we have a handful of books we can go to. So, Moose, I'm really excited about it. We're gonna be out there betting props, but also we got some good stuff for Occupy playing too. I think we're gonna get some live streams out there. I don't know if we can do this. I would love to interview people in the sports books and just get the absolute idiot perspective on the best bets to make for the Super Bowl. I think that'd be great content.
I know. So I when was it? I went out for week 1 2 years ago, and lines were absolutely ginormous. It was like an hour wait. So I would just ask people in line, like, "Hey, what are you betting? Like, what are you betting on?" And like it used all the drunkenness in me to just not laugh right in this person's face, because they would just be like, "Oh yeah, I'm betting." Like, I'll bet Seattle because I know they're so good. They have to win by 30.
They don't have to win, bro.
They don't have to win, no.
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about Vegas is that you've got your sharp players out there, clearly. But the people that you're going to interact with are the squarest bettors under the sun. They're coming out there to burn money. I mean, the last time I was out in Vegas, it was middle of November. I'm standing in the sports book at 9 a.m. This guy comes up, voms into the trash can, gets some on me, and then goes up to the book with a sheet, which is always a telltale sign of I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And places a bet.
Wow.
Dude, no, he was good, man. He was drunk, but then he vomed it all out. Now he's got a clear head, and he can make a nice bet. Man, but that's par for the course in Vegas, and especially the props. People think, especially if you listen to this podcast, you're likely somewhat sharp, I would think, right? Props are pretty profitable if you know what you're doing, right? But believe me, Superbook wouldn't offer a million props if it wasn't profitable for them, right? I mean, we may be in a handful of select few who are actually doing research for these props. Most of these people have no idea about what numbers they should be looking for. And because of this, we'll release our Super Bowl props guide. This is the first time we're going to do this on OccupyFantasy.com, and we'll put some more information about here as the Super Bowl approaches. But we plan on putting on a guide on after the two teams are settled, maybe the Sunday in between the games. what lines to look for, and which bets you can wait on. Because, and we'll talk about this in our podcast right before the Super Bowl, but there are some bets that you should jump on immediately, and there are some bets that we know every single year the public will hammer no matter who's playing, what the line is, and we can wait till Saturday night at the Superbook or Sunday morning, wherever we are, to make those bets. MC, we can, count our hands, just guarantee all these bets that are going to happen throughout the week with the public. We just come and get the best line Sunday morning.
Yeah, I mean, one of our favorites is, will one team score 3 times in a row, or will there be 3 unanswered scores? Yeah. And I mean, that one is actually the one where I want to go up and ask random people in the bar like how they feel about this prop. Yeah. Because people think that this is an impossible feat. This is a Herculean
they really
task
do.
to score 3 times in a row. And I was thinking that at least the last weekend in the divisional round, I think it happened twice out of the 4 games. This will jump out, I think, probably in the minus 190 to maybe down to minus 160. Depending on if the Patriots are in it, it'll probably be lower, maybe around minus 160, 170. Or excuse me, if the Patriots are in it, it'll probably be in around minus 190. And if it's one of the other 3 offenses, it'll probably be lower. Because everybody thinks it's going to be like a damn ping pong match.
Right.
Yeah, like a Rocky fight. And it may be, but that's always one we're taking, yes, anywhere in that minus 160 to minus 190 area. But that's also one that I think kind of fluctuates and comes down a little bit throughout the week.
Yeah, because, I mean, you get the average bettor, like you said, who thinks it's an impossible task, and they see they can bet the other side at plus 150. They're taking that every single time, Moose.
Yeah, and that's what people, I think, square people don't like doing, is like, oh man, and I'll just be honest, our mom is just like this. She's like, I don't want to bet $200 if I'm only going to get back $100. I want to do the other way. I want to bet 100 and get back 150. A lot of people are like that. They love that plus money.
That's literally everyone, and a lot of the bets that we know are going to be plus money, and we're on the other side. Just wait Sunday morning, because a lot of times this has happened before, right? It's like Saturday, and we're making all of our bets down at the Superbook, and we're like, all right, man, this is the best line we're going to get, right? There's no way this goes lower. And then we wake up Sunday morning, it's like, God damn, the public hit it even more. We could have gotten that extra
30 cents. And we're like, fuck.
Yeah, dude. So anyways, yeah, we'll be out there in Vegas. We're going to do some live streams on Sunday. We're trying to get some videos out if we can. But at the very least, we're going to have this props guide out for people to get. If you're a premium member, OccupyFantasy.com, you'll have free access to that. But yeah, be on the lookout for that. So guys, I'm super excited for that. But before we get there, we still got 2 games to play. So let's break down these games for some people, just from a betting and maybe if we have any DFS thoughts perspective on Sunday. So we're recording this Wednesday evening. It's 8:30 p.m. So MC, what are the latest odds? We got the Saints and the Rams. We have, which is a rematch. Well, actually, both these games are rematches from regular season. Saints and the Rams. Then the afternoon slot, we have the Chiefs and the Patriots. What are the betting odds now? What have they been doing over the course of the week so far?
So there's not been a whole lot of movement. So the Saints and the Rams opened at the Saints minus 3.5 at minus 102 juice about. So maybe you might have been able to get it at even. Currently, it's at my Saints minus 3 with the juice either on the Saints at maybe minus 120 or minus 125, or some books have Saints minus 3.5 at so it's gonna hover. It's not gonna move. Don't expect to see a 4, and don't expect to see a 2.5 unless it comes out that there's a major injury
right
on either side of the ball. Currently, it looks like the Saints are getting only the home favorite Saints are only getting 43% of the bet, and only 45% of spread bet dollars.
Wow.
So, the sharps haven't come in on the Saints yet. It seems like the public has been all over the Rams. I would expect the sharps at some point, if that juice comes down at minus 3, that they're going to take minus 3 at minus 110. Yeah. you're going with a lot of history here of Breeze. He's never lost a home playoff game, which on Peyton, something like 5-0 in the last 5 games against the spread. At home and in the Superdome, where I actually went down there for the Sugar Bowl.
Nice.
And let me tell you, that is one hell of a home field advantage. I mean, that place is loud.
Oh yeah.
It is a different environment than the LA Coliseum, which is more like a golf course to play in than a football stadium. So it's going to be an atmosphere that it's not going to be kind to the Rams. Now, I mean, I was very surprised to see what the Rams did to the Cowboys, and I think you're going to get that Cowboy butterfly effect, where the public will always, and the second that the Cowboys look like nobody's, the other team is the Super Bowl champion.
And I think that's what you're seeing here now, right? With the majority that's coming on the Rams. So. Yeah, I think that'd be interesting. Though I think the one injury that is such a big deal here is Sheldon Rankins for the Saints. Interior defensive lineman has been outstanding this year, both rushing the passer and stopping the run. He's out, so this is gonna be a big factor for the Rams. And I don't think that's playing into the line whatsoever. I think it's just all perception, like you said. But I don't know if I'm public or not, whether I'm a square or not, Moose. But I do like the Rams plus 3.5, and they're part of my money line rollover parlay to win the Super Bowl, which I've been doing the last week. So I'm betting the Rams money line. What about you? What do you like in this game? What's the total doing? Anything there stand out?
So the total's pretty much been about the same. Open 57, down to 56.5. A couple of spots have 57 still. I'm looking here. Bet Online has 56. But if I had to go here, if you're betting, I think you go Saints. You do the minus 125, minus 3. I don't think you bet it at 3.5, even if you're getting that even money.
Right.
But if you go Rams, I think you buy that juice. You go plus 3.5, minus 125. The half point's definitely very key around the 3.
I think so too. I mean, MC, what do you think? Waleed and I have been talking, Moose and I have been talking, but we haven't really talked to you, frequently over the last few weeks, at least on air. Is this Saints team? Obviously, the offense hasn't been performing like they did the first half of the year, but do you think this is just a blip on the radar, or do you think that they are struggling and the Rams can take advantage of that? MC.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know. I was really impressed with the run game from the Rams. I mean, Philadelphia, I think the Saints should have blown out Philadelphia. I was really surprised that they looked so sluggish in the first quarter of that game, especially after the whole Sean Payton Lombardi Trophy $200,000 pump up speech.
Which was balling.
It was kind of
that was great.
I mean, that's a genius idea. I will give him that. But it was kind of like, well, is this a Drew Brees led team or not? What's going on here? Why can't we get the offense going? But then, I guess they figured it out earlier than the Bears did, that the Eagles secondary can just be abused by a wide receiver like Michael Thomas. And they're running, their linebackers can't cover a running back like Alvin Kamara. So once they went to that, then they started blowing them out. Now, with the Rams, I mean, the Rams' defensive line is pretty tough. I'm not sure that the Saints' offensive line, especially the way they looked early against the Eagles, that kind of has me worried. And I agree with you that Sheldon Rankins being out, that is a problem in the run game. I mean, because he is a big body that's going to swallow up, Gurley, and now CJ Anderson. I mean, what?
Dude, I mean, I was, wrote about it in the Daily Plug on OccupyFantasy.com, talked about it on the podcast last week. Moose and I talked about it in the stream. I didn't like Gurley for a variety of reasons, but it damn sure wasn't the fact that CJ Anderson would get 20 carries or whatever it was. But all that said, Moose, I'll go to you now. I think we have a perfect storm here for DFS. because we have the Island game. Everyone saw on national TV CJ Anderson take over, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people were burned by Todd Gurley. We look at what the Bears coaching staff and what the Saints coaching staff failed to do in targeting the Eagle in targeting opposing linebackers, right? And I think the Rams are going to make an effort to get Todd Gurley involved in the pass game here, right? Get those Saints linebackers out in space.
Yeah.
This seems like a perfect storm where everyone's going to be recency bias affected by CJ Anderson and not play Todd Gurley as much.
I think so, yeah. And early ownership hasn't came out yet. I expect him to be significantly less than what he was last week. But that just seems like a good opportunity for him for us to play him. I'm pulling him up in the Occupy model now to see what he is. See what his OF index is. Loading up now. 1 second.
Yeah, no worries. But just while you're pulling that up.
Yeah, he's actually number 1 in OF index on both sites.
So there you go. People are going to play CJ Anderson. People are going to play Damian Williams. I imagine people will play Sonny Michel after his big game last week. People will pay Kamara. I think, I know this has mostly been a sports betting episode, but I think this is a great spot for Gurley in single game and the 2-game slate to take advantage of recency bias. So Moose, good call there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Hey, if you've been watching the Rams, I mean, I've caught a few games throughout the year. It just feels like they've been holding back on Gurley, like they haven't been pounding him. They've taken the pressure off him with different running backs throughout the season. Now CJ Anderson, even in that game against the Cowboys, it's like they knew they were going to be able to run the ball with him. We can almost save gadget plays.
Yeah.
Where he's going to get in space. He's not going to be touched. He's not going to have to bust through the line to get yards. And you look at Gurley and his speed, and he just seems to be fresher than the team that he's playing against.
Yeah, he's had a whole month off, so I think he is fresh. They've declared him 100% clear of that knee injury that he was dealing with. So yeah, I think, guys, this was a perfect shot for Todd Gurley in DFS, and it'll be a game. I hope it's a shootout, but honestly, I think it will be lower scoring than expected, just based on what the Saints offense has not been able to do. And speaking of lower scoring than expected, we'll go to this next game. Moose, I'll start with you because I tweeted out on Monday or Tuesday about the weather being an impact in this game. It was supposed to be a quote unquote Arctic blast over Kansas City on Sunday. And of course, just because I tried to get ahead of that, I bet under 57. And now the forecast has predictably changed to where it'll be warmer than an Arctic blast. Still, upper teens, low 20s. But as we know, cold definitely affects fantasy scoring. It affects real life scoring, especially if it gets down into those single digits.
Yeah, under 20 is when you start to see an effect. Once it hits that single digits is when you start to see a significant effect of where you almost basically want to avoid passing in that game. So you want to target Damian Williams. You might want to target Kelsey as someone to catch out in the flat.
Yep.
But you don't want to go heavy on someone like Tyreek Hill, who, if he goes into single digits, I can see him being a non-factor in this game.
I think so too. And MC, this game reminds me, obviously not with the offensive philosophies and personnel, but we saw a very similar cold weather playoff game a few years ago when Seattle traveled to Minnesota, the infamous Blair Walsh game, where the game time temperature was basically 0, and it resulted in I think the game total ended up at like 23 points total scoring. So while I don't think it'll be that big of an effect with these two offenses, but I do think it will have an impact.
Yeah, I mean, it hits, feel harder at 0 degrees than they do at 70 degrees. I mean, your body is just not going to respond. There's a lot of physics and chemistry that is working against you at those temperatures. Your body is working overtime to try to stay warm. You're just going to have a fatigue. And I think you saw that in the second half of that Kansas City Indianapolis game last week, where now the temperatures weren't going to be nearly as cold as they will be. But there wasn't a lot of scoring. The Chiefs didn't have a lot of urgency. And even the Colts, who needed to come back by 3 scores, were kind of just moving in slow motion. And I don't think that was, schemed up. Those guys just didn't want to get out there. And if you have, if either team, I hate to say that I think that even a New England team would kind of slow down in the second half. But But this New England team is getting older every day. Gronk's knee is. I don't even know if he'll be able to move his knees. It will be so cold.
He won't be able to bend at the waist for sure.
No, yeah. I mean, he'll zero flexibility. I mean, but I'm going to say that, and he's going to go out in pregame warm-ups and no shirt on.
Probably because that'll definitely happen. What about throwing the ball, MC? You've thrown the ball in the cold weather. From 0 to 20, obviously, is a big difference between 20 and 40. I mean, it's got to be tough to grip the ball, right?
Yeah, I mean, your hand is actually going to shrink a little bit. I mean, your finger and your grip is going to shrink. So it's going to be tougher to grip that ball. I guess they keep the balls warm on the sideline, in between plays. Yeah, I mean, the more I talk about this, the more I'm laughing inside too. But yeah, that's going to be tough. And I mean, catching with a bare hand would be one thing. I don't think catching with those gloves is going to matter all that much, but gripping the ball, I think Brady, has he switched to using a glove in this type of weather? I think so. I don't know if Mahomes has kind of settled in on whether or not to use a glove or if he's using his bare hand. That could be something early on. If he's not comfortable, he's going to have to switch to a glove for possibly the first.
Yeah. So just a quick iteration on that. Then, what do you think about in that doing the first quarter under at 10.5?
I like it. I mean, I like unders galore in this game.
Yeah.
Whether it's by quarter, especially by player props if they don't adjust whatsoever. Like looking at completions and attempts, because passing attempts in general decrease by 10% when the game gets below 20 degrees, and if books don't adjust for that, we'll have a field day with the props. So,
absolutely,
especially on the Kansas City side, I think Patriots have shown a willingness just not to give a shit, and they'll still throw the ball no matter what the temperature is. But I think we have on good authority here. While MC is not an NFL quarterback, he does have a bioengineering background, talking about body effects, and he's a prolific flag football quarterback. So I think we have on good authority that there will be an effect on the passers in this game.
I do like what you said about the unders too. I mean, I think Indianapolis showed exactly what not to do against this bad run defense against the Chiefs, which was predictably run on every single last first down, and then possibly run again on second down and try to air it out after 2 or 3 penalties on third down. Which is, I mean, the Patriots are not going to do that. The Patriots are going to show run on first down. They're going to play action out of that. They're going to throw to James White or Rex Burkhead or Sonny Michel or Edelman for that 5-yard hitch that he's famous for, and take what the Chiefs give them on first down, and then they'll pound it, with Michel or Burkhead to get that first down, and they're going to move the ball methodically down the field and make the Chiefs pay for that. I don't want to see another Super Bowl with the Patriots because it's sort of like a never-ending Groundhog Day going to Vegas with the Patriots in the Super Bowl. I'm praying Kansas City figures this out, but I am definitely. I mean, I'm not touching the side on this one. You're going super experience against inexperienced quarterback, even though he's probably the MVP. And against a coach who has just a terrible record in these types of games. Yeah. And I just don't I think it's a recipe for disaster for the Chiefs, and I don't even want to emotionally hedge and bet on the Patriots.
No. Lewis, what do you think?
I think you stay away from the side as well. And while you guys were just talking, I actually looked up on Five Dimes. They have some early player props. Have Tyreek Hill receiving yards over under 80.5, Kelsey receiving yards over under 78.5. I feel like Tyreek, especially, you can go under right there.
Yeah, I mean, he has 4 touchdowns and like 400 yards in 2 games against the Patriots over the last 2 years. And I've seen a lot of people draw this comparison. MC, you're a little bit of a historian, I think, in the NFL, where I think it was famous where Bill Belichick, when he was coaching the Giants defense in the Super Bowl, he said, let's let Thurman Thomas run all over us. Let him run for 100 yards. Make them beat us via the pass. And I've seen some people draw conclusions, say he might do that this week. Let Damian Williams beat you. Don't let Don't let Mahomes beat you through the air.
Mhm.
I don't know how much that's going to work because Damian Williams has been a
He's a
baller.
beast.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
don't know. What do you think, MC? Do you think that has any weight here?
Well, I was thinking about this earlier. I mean, Damian Williams was not really utilized in the pass game, kind of like I expected. I did have the over receiving yards, which was great. I had over rush yards though, so I mean, it's still lost, but you know, it's fantastic, right? The juice will always get you. Yeah, but I think that's going to be key. Is that I think the way to beat the Chiefs is get Mahomes out of the pocket and make him, think he can make these crazy backwards passes across the field. Like that's going to be the Patriots are going to know to look for that.
Right.
They're going to be ready. Those linebackers are going to be ready. Those safeties are going to be ready for any sort of pass back across the field. I mean, I don't expect Mahomes to get out there and throw with his left hand again, but if you can get Mahomes to move out of pocket, I think that's going to lead to a lot of checkdowns to Damian Williams. I mean, I would hope that's what Andy Reid is thinking on these pass plays to get Damian Williams involved. I don't love the Kelsey prop either. I think they know that if they can shut down Kelsey, that he's like their first down. He definitely showed it against the Indianapolis Colts that he's their first down machine. When they need a 3rd and 7, they're going to Kelsey underneath.
Yeah.
Or 3rd and 15 or 3rd and 20. Like it doesn't matter.
I mean, it was an embarrassment of riches there for the Colts. I mean, it was just terrible. Absolutely no game plan whatsoever. It was really a shame that their season had to end like that.
Yeah, super frustrating.
Yeah, very frustrating personally. But no, I think. I mean, it will be about Mahomes creating these plays. I mean, that's always been what's kind of beaten the Patriots. Yeah, is a mobile quarterback. You flush him from the pocket, and he's able to find receivers downfield because normally the Patriots, they don't have the all first round draft picks in their secondary.
Right.
That's more or less their weakness is their front four is almost always great. They normally have a great couple of linebackers, but then once you get in their secondary, that's where they kind of tail off a little bit.
I think that's fair. Moose, any final thoughts here on this game?
It's just going to be interesting. I think it's very dependent on how this weather shows up. Like we said earlier, under 20 is going to be a little an effect on the passing, but if it comes to that Arctic blizzard of single digits, 0 degrees, it's definitely going to be something very interesting that I am going to want to watch.
Yeah, I think so. The total opened 57. It actually dropped down like 54, and now with the news of the absence of the Arctic blast, it's back up to like 55 or 56 or some shit. So
yeah,
it's been a roller coaster. I'm sure as the forecast change, the odds will continue to change. So it'll be the biggest storyline of the weekend, I think.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. The books are going to need the over, which is super rare anytime there's like a primetime, island game.
Yeah.
The public is awful at betting unders, so we'll see how this goes. I mean, if it's a shootout, I like Kansas City, but I mean, if it's a grinding game, New England's going to win. I mean, if it's 45 points, 46 points or under, New England will win this game.
I think it's a fair assessment. Although personally, I think the Chiefs blow them out. We'll see if that comes to fruition. I think the Chiefs money line or Chiefs -2.5 is one of the better bets of the weekend.
I'll be more than happy to watch the Chiefs in Vegas. I'll be psyched.
Yeah, dude, I'd much rather buy a Chiefs T-shirt here in a couple weeks than whoever the Patriots are playing. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I that's why I own a Seattle shirt, a Carolina shirt,
Yep.
Eagles shirt. Yeah, I mean, it's a graveyard of Patriot opponents.
That's really all it is. All right, well, guys, I think this will do it. Appreciate both of you guys filling in for Waleed. I think we had lots of good conversation, lots of interesting things to talk about. So, just to our listeners, if you're still listening, be sure to follow us at Occupy Fantasy. Subscribe. Get our latest podcast. We're going to continue doing podcasts once per week, even after the NFL season ends. Go give us a follow on YouTube. This will be up on YouTube after we finish. And Moose, we're going to do Twitch on Sunday, I think, right?
Yep, Sunday.
Yes. So we'll be just sharing our screens, building single game lineups Sunday morning at some point. I'll be on Periscope Sunday morning, answer all of your questions. Yeah,
We're
so
also doing NBA Twitch as well on that Monday.
Oh, so the Monday after, so this upcoming Monday here, the 21st or something.
Yep.
Sweet. Okay, good. So we got lots of content. So give us a follow on Twitch, twitch.tv/Occupy Fantasy. All right, MC, I'll let you get out of here. We'll see you for a podcast to preview Super Bowl props in a couple of weeks. Sound good?
Yeah, it sounds great.
Perfect. And then we'll see you in Vegas immediately after. Moose, I will see you on Sunday. For everyone listening, thank you. Moose and MC, take care. Good luck, guys.
See you. Peace.